We wanted to understand how are South Africans coping with the current levels of financial stress. So we asked questions that delved into relationship with money, asking for financial advice, how is stress impacting your overall well-being. So we wanted to see, because we often are told, that South Africans are resilient. That was the other thing. The third point for us was to establish a benchmark, because we plan to continue doing this survey year after year. We went for a national representative sample. So we essentially very much interested to see the impact of, for example, the financial education that we do. Is it shifting behavior? And not only Nedbank, all other service providers, they do financial education interventions. So we want to say, with all these interventions, can we have a score that tells us, is it moving the dial? Are South Africans experiencing the benefits of all this financial education? Those are the three main factors.
You mentioned the word financial health here, and is it all about income and expenses, or is there something a little bit more bigger when we talk about financial health?
Oh, absolutely much bigger. In fact, for us, the work has just shown it, because we interviewed just over 1,500 South Africans, working South Africans, and we had deep, almost an hour or so, one-on-one interviews with about 20, and what came out for us is confirming that when we talk about financial health, yes, the rands and cents matter. Income, how much do I earn? Expenses matter. But in fact, interestingly, the bigger factors that drive wellness came out as things such as financial worries, financial strains, physical health, concern about my level of financial education, being ashamed about the amount of debt I'm carrying and what that does it for me. And so we could robustly conclude that yes, rands and cents matter, but there's the planning, there's almost, I can call them psychological factors. My relationship with money, what does money mean to me? Are we having conversations in the household around money? Those were the factors, in fact, that had a bigger relationship with financial health. Yes, the foundation, of course, being the rands and cents and expenses.
So it's quite interesting here. The report says that South Africa's financial health score is 53 out of 100. What does the score mean, and what does it tell us here?
Oh, fantastic. What a lovely question. And we wanted to anchor it with a number so that we could unpack it. So if you think of writing an exam, it's out of a total of 100, 53 says, you just scrape through, right? And for us, the context of COVID and the context of high interest rates that we saw over a prolonged period of time kind of explain this moderate score of 53, right? But what 53 explains beyond the number itself is voices of people who are saying, for example, if you look at the component around borrowing, if I can just touch on the important component of borrowing, we're finding that 69% of South Africans are saying, wait a minute, I am struggling to pay my bills on time. We are finding 42% of South Africans saying, I'm carrying unmanageable debt. I've got too much debt. And so we start understanding what is driving this score of 53. It's the credit behavior. That's one aspect of it. And of course, we want tangible insights. And then we can actually say to the person going through the report that one action that you can do to improve on that 53 for an average South African is really to make sure that you use debt wisely, you pay where you can to reduce the level of debt so that you don't have a lot of stress around debt. If you look at another point, emergency savings, if you look at the savings bucket, it does the same thing. We're saying long-term savings, South Africans are concerned about it. That's pulling down the score. But what's pulling down the score even more is that only 57% of South Africans, what a shocking statistic, have emergency savings. So I'm constantly worried, if something happens, how am I going to find the money to deal with this emergency? So not only do we have an average score at a national level, we then have for each grouping, in other words, savings, borrowing, spending, and planning, we kind of tell you what the score is and what you can do to improve it.
As we wrap up, the one aspect I found interesting was the understanding the triggers for seeking financial help. And what concerned me here was that only 8% have an ongoing relationship, or so to speak, with a financial advisor. How do we change that so that a lot more people find it accessible to have that ongoing relationship?
That statistic also concerned me a lot because it's telling us, in the main, South Africans are approaching a financial advisor when there is a big life event, buying a car, buying a home, getting married, which is good. And we're also finding that when I'm in financial trouble, so it's about a third or so of South Africans were using those two, who are approaching a financial advisor when that happened. The 8% is powerful because it's saying to us there are fundamental issues around how consumers understand financial advisors. So how do we get them to use more? One, to say it's not just about having a big life event. A financial advisor is a person in your corner who cares for your financial health. So it's important to have ongoing dialogue, checking what's happening with your finances. Two, for the financial industry, we say, look at ourselves. Could it be the language that we are using? Could it be financial advice is being experienced as people just sell policies and run away, and therefore there's not an ongoing relationships? And finally, perhaps even more important, for me, it's also saying to us, perhaps the financial planning industry needs to do more in terms of explaining its value to consumers so that consumers will realize that for me to reach good financial health, I need someone I can meet at least once a quarter and kind of review what's going on with my finances. Interesting, as we close, one of the factors that we saw pulling people back from working with financial advice is financial shame. I don't want people to know I've got too much debt. We don't talk about money with strangers in our family. And those are factors that are more attitudinal, more societal, that says, me and my money, leave me alone. I cannot open up to a stranger. We need the financial planning industry to help with shifting, that narrative so that more South Africans use financial advisors on an ongoing basis.